Today I'm going to be talking about spaghetti diagrams. This is another one of the great tools that you can use just with pen and paper, and it actually can give you a lot of really useful information. So the idea behind a spaghetti diagram is that you draw out a configuration of whatever space the work is being done in, and you put sort of pencil to paper, and you follow the process as it moves through. I'll give you an example that I actually did in my personal life, if you can believe it, with going to the grocery store. So let's say these are the different aisles. These are the different aisles of the grocery store. So there's the frozens and the vegetable aisle and all that good stuff. So here is the grocery store, and here's the checkout stations. All right. Okay. So let's say I take my pen to paper, I enter the store, and I track my motions as I go through the different aisles, and I'm grabbing things, and then I realize, oh wait, I forgot something. This is actually what happens, right? When I go to the store, and then I go to this aisle, and I forget I grabbed something over here, and I grab something from that end, and then I go to the end, and I get what I need, and I pass back through this one that I've already been a couple times. I get in line, and then I realize, oh wait, I check my list. I have to go back and grab something from this aisle, and I forgot something over here. Oh, and I need one more of these. Come back over. Oh wait, one more thing here, one in the back, and then I can come back and actually get in line. So this is what my process map actually looked like, my spaghetti diagram in terms of the process of going to the grocery store. Now, if you've ever been grocery shopping with two kiddos clamoring for electronics, you know that this really can be a challenge. So what can I do to lean this process out? Now, what you do with this tool, with the spaghetti diagram, is you look for places where there's a lot of rework. For example, here, I went back and forth in these little areas. So you're looking for clusters of spaghetti. You're also looking for areas where you have to go maybe all the way out. So if in this process I forgot my wallet and I had to go out all the way over to the parking lot to get my wallet and come back around before I can actually pay for the stuff, it would look like that, right? Which actually we do end up seeing in certain process maps. So bad you can't even see it in the diagram here. So if that were happening, you'd see this sort of spark going all the way out to the edge. So what we're looking for is places where there's an aberration, where it goes all the way outside, places where there's a lot of rework, a lot of visiting to the same spot. Why is this not, right? The idea here would be a continuous flow. Why couldn't I just go straight through? So I looked at this, did a little bit of a process walk. What I ended up realizing was that I create my list at home based on the groceries that I think I need, and then I go through and I'm walking through following my list, and I realized that the cause of the reason I was going back to these different areas was because my list had things not in sort of the order of the store here. The list that I was working from didn't align with the flow. So what I started to do was compartmentalize my list, since I know enough about the store to know that this is the frozen, and this is the bread, right? And this is the fresh section, and this is the paper section, for example, right? So if I know this is the layout of the store, then when I go to make my list on my own little sheet, I'll have bread aisle, what is that, frozen aisle, paper aisle, and fresh section. So when I go to make my actual list, I'll take my pen and I'll say bread. Oh, I need bagels. What else do I need? I need frozens. I need peas and carrots. Frozen peas and carrots. I need fresh lettuce. Right? As I'm going through and I'm realizing what things I need, instead of writing them out in whatever order I happen to be thinking of them in, as I'm thinking of things, I'm putting them into the appropriate compartments, if you will, so that when I go to the store, the idea is that I'm looking at this list and I'm running in that order. So I'm able to say, I'm going to enter the store and I will first go get my bagels, right? And then I will go get the frozen peas, and then I will get the paper if I needed any. I'll get the fresh items. I'll come back out and I'll pay. Not to mention that I won't forget my wallet right back in the car. So the idea being here that I don't have to go all the zigzaggies and back and forth that I used to do. I can enter the store, I can go to my bread aisle, I can go to the frozen aisle, I can see that I don't have any paper products, so I'll come back over to the fresh aisle, get my fresh items, and I can go out the store. So you can see here that I've eliminated the rework of going to aisles I don't have to go to anymore. I've eliminated the rework of going back and forth to aisles because I forgot them on my list. There's a much better flow in terms of processing time here. If you're thinking back again on process times and wait times and cycle times, it used to take me about 45 minutes to do a grocery run. I've trimmed this down to about 15-20. And that's not counting, of course, the time it takes, at the register itself. But this process flows a lot better, especially, as I mentioned, when you have, kiddos that you're, asking for electronics and the like. Awesome. So let's think a little bit too here about what if your process isn't, physically driven. If you're thinking of a digital process, for example, how can this tool work for you? Same basic idea, only you'll sort of need to think about your process in the digital space, right? So let's say your operators, you call them out in sequential order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sort of in this direction. So let's say this is the flow of my process, right? So the first operator, we'll just say for the sake of this example here, first operator that says, this is me, I'm filling out a form, I send that off to person number 2, person number 2 reviews my form. They send it back because I made some sort of errors. Oops, sorry, I'll fix that. And I finish my edits, it goes from person number 2, great, it looks great, sends it to person number 3, they enter it into a system. The next person, the owner of the system, is checking for some sort of errors as it was input and says, actually, I needed this other field. So it needs to then go back through the workflow back to me to make corrections, and then I'll correct it, comes back in. Great, person number 4 checks it, awesome. Number 5 maybe checks on receipts and enters into a system. Number 6 checks on policy, enters their approval. Number 7 and number 8 are just making sure that everything's as it should be, and it gets back to me. Whew. So with a spaghetti diagram, again, we've laid out our operators in a circle sequence here. We're going to be looking for any places where there's rework, any places where we have to go back. Why did this happen? We'll start to ask for why is this going back and forth here? What errors am I missing, or what mistakes am I making that person number 2 is checking for, right? Because if I can resolve that, then I might be able to go a little more direct path to the next step without having to come back. Let's say it goes on to person number step 3, awesome, and then person number step 4. Now, this person eventually sometimes finds things that this person didn't. Why is that? Are they in a different system? Are they looking for something else? Some ideas around this might be that we take this person at step 4 and we have them, sort of swap with step 3, right? So that they're a little earlier in the process, so we're not bugging person at step 3. Maybe we give this person access, if they're sort of the QA step, we give this person access to check for the thing that person at step 4 should be looking for, or just give me the information so that I know what mistake I'm making so it doesn't have to come back. Even if it's something that cannot be sort of controlled for, you can't think of a possible way to get it to where this can be controlled. This person's always going to catch some sort of error because they're they're checking on certain things in the system. We can ask, does it need to go all the way back through the workflow, right? Could we maybe just do a dotted line? If I made the error and I'm the one who needs to fix it, could it come to me and then directly back down? Why do we need to send it back through the workflow to get back through the workflow again? Is it possible to maybe send it directly to and back from that step? A couple other opportunities, and we see this quite a bit. Person in step 5 is checking for something, step 6, step 7, step 8. You can look for what's called throughput yield. You can look at your success rate. How often does this or that person ever send it back? The reason why I've seen this a few times is because a lot of processes used to be based on paper, right? It was a paper process, so it would need to go to this person's desk for approval before it went to the next person's desk for an ink approval, and then it went to the next person's desk for an actual written approval. And a lot of times it was sign off. It was a notification step. It was, they were maybe checking on something that they didn't have to anymore because now we have, tools and systems that do those sort of checks for us. So if there's a high throughput yield for these, if these folks never really, if they're rubber stamping it, in essence, then maybe we don't need to necessarily send it to all 3 operators. We could say person at step 7, congratulations, you no longer have to be a part of this, this particular workflow anymore. We're going to go straight to number 8. Let's say person at step 7 says, no, I really want to be a part of this process still. Say, okay, great. You could ask 6, 7, 8, maybe even 5, does this need to be stage gate? Like, does person at step 6 have to see it before person at step 7? Or can 6, 7, and 8 all see it at the same time? So this would be basically after step 4, it goes to 5. And after step 5, at the exact same time, it goes to 6, 7, and 8. So if you're thinking about how long does this process take, before it used to take, I had to wait until step 6 was done, and then wait until step 7 was done, and then wait until step 8 was done. in sending it out in parallel, then we're really just waiting sort of for one accumulated, like whoever takes longest is really the only wait time we're waiting for, and then we send it on forward. So our process, instead of being back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then stage gates, one single channel, maybe a direct line to and from, and then perhaps parallel processing at one of these steps. So these are the kinds of things that we see in processes when we're looking at them, and how you can start to think about spaghetti diagram and how it can work for you if you're working on digital processes as opposed to physical process. Again, if you've got a lot of motion and transportation in your process, the spaghetti diagram might be really helpful at identifying different opportunities for improvement. Another great example, if you want to try this at home, draw out, again, the way a spaghetti diagram is done, you draw out your physical space first, and then you follow one iteration. Don't lift your pen up at all. You draw out one iteration. So here's what my challenge is for you, maybe some take-home assignments. I want you to take a piece of paper the next time you go to cook anything and draw out. So you've got your fridge, you've got maybe your sink, right, with the water there. You've got your oven with your burners. We'll put a little fire for the oven, right? And we'll put a little F here for fridge. We'll put a table and a prep station, so the island, the prep island. Okay, so if you were to draw out whatever your kitchen layout is before you or someone else starts cooking, here's my challenge to you. Put that marker to a piece of paper and try to follow it along as much as you can. Here's what I'm betting you're gonna find, is you're gonna find that the operator enters the space, goes to the fridge, puts stuff on the prep table, puts stuff back in the fridge, comes back to the prep table, does something with it, maybe goes, turns on the range, comes back over to continue prepping, grabs something else out of the fridge, washes it, puts that on the prep table, comes over to the fridge to put something else, goes to the table to maybe sit down for a few minutes while the oven's preheating, goes to the prep area, comes to the oven. I really want you to try this at home if you're interested in practicing with one, and start thinking about why all the repeat visits to the single space. What can we do to improve flow? If you want some hints, the one thing that I've seen in this is I return to the fridge. Let's say I'm making a cake. I'll go to the fridge for the eggs, and then I come out, and then I get butter, and then I come out, and then I do something with the eggs and the butter, and then I come back and I get, I put the milk back, and then I come back and I'm prepping something else. What if I were to go to the fridge one time and I knew all the things that I needed to get, I could grab them all at once, start working on them, right? Instead of piecemealing them as I think of the pieces in the recipe, really prepping myself to say, what are all the ingredients we need? If you are so fortunate, you could think about rearranging your flow here to say, can we move the prep station in between where the wash station and the fridge are? If you have the ability to prep not on this table, but to prep in this space over here, that might actually benefit your process because you have less motion and transportation. So just, something to try out. If you think of any process, really anything you do, everything we do is a process. If you think of any process, if you can lay out your diagram here, just draw out your space, put pencil to paper, and the important thing is don't lift up your pen until you've tracked that process all the way through. What I've seen sometimes is people will do this where they do like a line and then a line and then a line. That really doesn't show the progression. You're not really sure if they went here first or second or third, so just try it out. Hopefully this has been helpful. We look forward to seeing you for more videos in the future. Have a good day.